Tonight, you are walking through a quiet village in ancient Japan. Long after the lanterns of the evening have dimmed and the narrow streets have grown still beneath the deep calm of night, when the wooden houses rest silently beside moss-covered paths, and the gentle sound of water moving through hidden canals becomes the only voice left awake. Somewhere ahead of you, a lantern still glows, a small, steady light resting beside a wooden gate, as if it had been placed there for the one traveler who might arrive after everyone else has gone to sleep. There are no voices here now, no footsteps, no movement behind the paper windows of the houses, only the soft air drifting through bamboo leaves and the quiet patience of a village that has already settled into rest. Tonight, there is nothing you must do, and nowhere you must hurry toward. Only the slow comfort of following lantern light through peaceful streets and quiet temple gardens, letting the world grow softer with every step as the night deepens around you. So take a gentle breath, allow your shoulders to settle, and begin your quiet walk through ancient Japan. The street beyond the gate is already quiet, not the sudden quiet that follows noise, but the deeper stillness that settles slowly over a place after the day has gently loosened its hold. When footsteps have faded, when lanterns burn lower, and the night itself begins to breathe more softly. Ahead of you, the narrow street stretches between rows of wooden houses, their dark walls rising quietly on either side of the stone path, the long lines of their roofs leaning inward as though sheltering the calm that rests below. Near the entrance, a single lantern glows beside a wooden doorway, its warm light resting against the dark grain of the boards, illuminating the threshold and a small patch of the stone path, as if it has been left there simply to welcome the night. The light is soft, steady, patient, and as you step a little closer, the glow spreads gently across the stones beneath your feet, revealing the smooth surface worn by years of quiet footsteps that have long since passed through this place. For a moment, you pause beside the lantern. The warmth of its light feels almost alive against the cool darkness of the street, a small island of gold surrounded by deep blue shadows, while the wooden walls beside it absorb the glow in long calm streaks of amber and brown. Then the street continues onward, slowly, quietly, drawing you deeper between the rows of sleeping houses. The stones beneath your feet are slightly uneven, their surfaces darkened by the faint moisture that gathers after nightfall, and the sound of your steps feels softer here, as though the air itself is helping to quiet everything that moves through it. Further ahead, another lantern burns faintly in the distance, its glow smaller now, barely touching the edges of the road, yet enough to guide the path forward through the gentle curve of the street. On either side, wooden lattice windows sit dark behind their narrow frames, the paper screens within them faintly visible where the lantern light brushes their surface. Pale squares resting quietly within the deeper shadow of the buildings. Most of the houses have already surrendered fully to the night, their interiors dim, their doors closed, their walls silent. But then, just ahead, one window glows softly through its paper screen. The warm light from inside fills the square frame with a gentle golden color, like a quiet breath held within the darkness. Perhaps someone inside has left a lantern burning, not bright enough to disturb the calm of the street, but just enough to keep a small warmth alive behind the wooden walls. The glow spills faintly onto the stone path below, touching the ground like a delicate reflection of the lantern beside the doorway you passed earlier. And as you walk past the window, the light fades slowly behind you, disappearing again into the deeper shadow of the street. The lane grows narrower now, the houses leaning closer together, their roofs nearly meeting high above the path. Between the dark edges of the buildings, the night sky appears only as a thin ribbon of deep blue, where the quiet outline of distant trees sways gently against the darkness. Somewhere far beyond the rooftops, the wind moves softly through the leaves, but here in the narrow street, the air feels almost perfectly still. Even the lantern ahead seems to burn without movement, its flame steady, undisturbed, casting a warm circle of light onto the stones beneath it. You move slowly toward it, the soft glow growing wider with every step, until the lantern once again fills the path with that same quiet warmth you first encountered at the entrance of the street. Here the road bends gently, guiding the stone path around the dark corner of another wooden building. And just beyond that curve, the faint shimmer of water begins to appear, reflecting the lantern light in soft, trembling lines. A quiet canal waits somewhere ahead, but for now, the street still holds its calm, lanterns glowing softly against wooden walls, paper windows breathing warm light into the night, and the slow, peaceful feeling of a town that has already drifted far into sleep. The street bends slowly now, not sharply, not with urgency, but with the quiet softness of a path that has followed the same gentle curve for longer than anyone remembers. Guiding footsteps around the wooden walls and narrow corners of the sleeping district. The lantern behind you fades gradually into the darkness, its warm glow shrinking until it becomes only a distant ember, resting somewhere along the road you have already passed. Ahead, another lantern waits beside the turn. Its light spreads across the stones like a calm pool of warmth, touching the edges of the street, revealing the faint shine of the worn surface beneath your feet. As you move closer, the shadows shift softly along the wooden walls, long beams of light sliding quietly across the grain of the boards, while the dark spaces between the buildings seem to grow deeper and more peaceful with every step. Beyond the curve, the street widens slightly, and beside the path, the quiet presence of water begins to appear. A narrow canal runs alongside the stone road, its surface dark and smooth beneath the night sky, the gentle movement of the current barely visible except where the lantern light reaches the water. There, the reflections begin to form, soft golden streaks stretching across the surface, rippling slowly as the water drifts through the narrow channel. The lanterns placed along the canal seem to float upon the water's surface, their reflections trembling gently, folding and unfolding with every small movement of the current. The sound of the flowing water is barely more than a whisper, a quiet rhythm beneath the stillness of the street, steady, patient, almost like breathing. You follow the path beside the canal, the stone edge of the water running parallel with the road, guiding the gentle curve of the walkway as it continues deeper into the night. Sometimes the lanterns sit closer to the water, their glow spilling directly across the surface, creating long, shimmering ribbons of light that stretch far into the dark current before slowly dissolving. Other times, the lanterns rest beside the wooden houses, their light illuminating the lower beams of the buildings, revealing the textures of the old wood, the quiet strength of the pillars, the faint shadows cast by plants growing near the doorways. One lantern rests beside a closed wooden door. Its light touches the step at the entrance, revealing the rough surface of the stone threshold, worn smooth by countless quiet arrivals and departures that belong to another time of day. But tonight the doorway remains still, the house behind it silent, the lantern simply burning, as though keeping watch over the calm of the empty street. Further along, the canal narrows slightly, and the path begins to leave the water behind. A small opening appears between the buildings, where a wooden gate stands partially open. Beyond it, a garden path leads inward. The stones of the walkway glisten faintly beneath the lantern light, their surfaces darkened by the cool moisture of the night, while the edges of the path disappear softly into clusters of low plants and moss-covered rocks. A lantern sits just inside the gate, its glow warmer here, softer somehow, sheltered by the leaves of nearby trees that hang gently above the narrow path. The air within the garden feels different, cooler, quieter, as though the night itself has settled more deeply among the branches and stones. The sounds of the street fade almost completely as you step through the open gate. Behind you, the lanterns of the canal street continue to glow faintly in the distance. But ahead, the garden holds a deeper calm. Lantern light resting on wet stones, soft shadows beneath the leaves, and a narrow path that seems to lead slowly, gently, into the quiet heart of the night. Beyond the garden gate, the quiet deepens almost immediately. The narrow path of stone continues beneath the gentle shelter of low trees, their branches leaning softly overhead, their leaves catching only the faintest glow from the lantern resting beside the walkway. Here the air feels cooler, calmer, as though the garden has been quietly holding the night within its walls long before you arrived, protecting the stillness beneath the branches, letting the deeper calm gather slowly between the stones and moss. The lantern beside the path glows with a steady warmth, illuminating the moss-covered rocks and the small plants that grow patiently between them, their leaves shining softly where the light touches their edges, while the spaces beyond the lantern fall away into deeper shadow. Each step along the path feels slower here, softer somehow, the quiet beneath the trees absorbing every movement until even the sound of your footsteps begins to fade into the surrounding calm. Further along, the path widens slightly, and a stone basin appears beside the walkway. Its rounded surface is dark with moisture, its edges softened by layers of moss that have slowly settled there over time, the stone cool and silent beneath the lantern light. Above it, a simple bamboo spout extends gently over the basin. From its hollow end, a thin stream of water falls slowly into the still pool below. The sound is delicate, almost weightless. Each drop touches the surface with the quietest note, sending small rings outward across the water, circles expanding slowly, widening until they fade once more into perfect stillness. Then another drop falls, and the slow rhythm begins again. Standing beside the basin, the lantern reflects softly in the dark water, its golden glow trembling gently with each ripple that forms and disappears. The entire garden seems to breathe with that rhythm now, water falling, circles forming, stillness returning. For a moment, the night feels completely suspended in that gentle motion. Then the path continues, the stones now leading gradually toward the darker edge of the garden, where the sound of flowing water begins to grow slightly stronger. Soon the canal appears again, its surface darker here beneath the quiet canopy of trees. A small stone bridge rises above the water, its arch simple and graceful, resting quietly between the moss-covered banks. Lanterns have been placed along the edges of the bridge, their warm glows spilling softly across the curved stones and falling into the canal below, where the reflections stretch into long trembling lines of gold. As the water passes slowly beneath the bridge, the lantern light shifts gently across the surface, bending, folding, then smoothing again as the current continues its quiet journey through the garden. The entire scene feels balanced in a peaceful stillness, light above, water below, shadows resting along the banks. Beyond the bridge, the canal widens slightly, and along the far edge of the water, wooden houses stand quietly beside the canal. Their dark walls rise gently from the stone banks, while their windows glow softly through paper screens that hold the warm lantern light within. Across the surface of the canal, those small glowing windows stretch into long shimmering reflections, the golden shapes drifting slowly with the current before dissolving again into the darker water. The path beside the canal continues onward, following the gentle curve of the stone bank. A wooden rail lines the edge of the walkway, and beside it, another lantern rests quietly upon the moss-covered stones. Its light spreads softly across the path, revealing the worn texture of the stone beneath your feet, the small plants growing patiently along the edges, and the quiet strength of the old wall rising beside the canal. Here the water moves even more slowly, the reflections deeper, calmer, almost perfectly still where the lantern light reaches the dark surface. The garden seems to breathe in long, slow rhythms now, water flowing quietly beneath the bridge, lanterns glowing gently along the banks, leaves resting motionless in the cool night air, and somewhere beyond the garden walls, the sleeping town remains wrapped in its own quiet darkness. But here beside the water, the calm feels deeper still, more settled, as though the garden itself has been waiting patiently for the night to arrive, and now simply rests within it, undisturbed, peaceful, and perfectly still. Leaving the quiet garden path behind, the stone walkway begins to guide you toward a covered corridor that stretches softly into the darkness. The entrance stands open, framed by wooden beams that rise quietly from the stone floor, their surfaces darkened by years of night air and gentle lantern light. Above the corridor, a row of lanterns hangs from the wooden ceiling, each one casting a small circle of warm light onto the ground below. Between those circles of light, the shadows deepen, creating a slow rhythm of brightness and darkness that repeats again and again down the length of the hall. As you step beneath the first lantern, the air grows stiller. The garden behind you fades softly into the distance, its water and quiet leaves now only faint memories carried by the night. Here inside the corridor, the lantern glow feels closer, warmer, the wooden walls reflecting the soft amber light in calm, steady tones. Your footsteps fall gently upon the smooth stone floor, the sound barely more than a quiet whisper beneath the wooden ceiling above. Each lantern you pass leaves its glow slowly behind you, the light shrinking into the distance as the next warm circle appears ahead. The corridor stretches onward in this quiet rhythm, light, shadow, a peaceful pattern that seems to guide your steps deeper into the shelter of the building. After a while, the corridor begins to narrow slightly, and the lanterns become fewer. Their glow softer now, their light resting more quietly against the wooden walls. Eventually, the hallway opens toward a small doorway, where a single lantern rests beside the threshold. Its light spills gently across the wooden frame, revealing the quiet textures of the old beams, the smooth grain of the door, the stone step worn gently by time. Beyond the doorway, the path continues once again beneath the open sky. But the night here feels deeper now, the darkness thicker, the lantern beside the door standing like a small island of warmth within the shadows. The walkway curves slowly along a tall stone wall. The stones rise beside you in long dark rows, their surfaces cool and silent beneath the lantern light placed along the base of the wall. Each lantern reveals a small section of the path ahead, illuminating the rough textures of the stone, the moss that grows patiently between the cracks, and the quiet curve of the road as it disappears gently around the bend. Above the wall, the dark outlines of trees sway softly against the sky. Their leaves move with the faintest whisper of wind, a slow, gentle motion high above the lantern glow. The path continues like this for some time. Lantern, shadow, lantern, the quiet rhythm repeating along the curve of the wall, each step drawing the knot deeper around you. Soon the lanterns begin to grow farther apart, fading more quickly into the surrounding darkness. The air feels cooler here, calmer still, as though the quiet has slowly gathered itself into this final stretch of the path. Eventually only one lantern remains. It rests in a shallow hollow of the stone wall, its light gentle and steady, illuminating the ground beneath it with a warm golden circle. Beyond that lantern, the road disappears completely into darkness. You pause there for a moment, the glow beside the wall reflecting softly across the stones beneath your feet, the quiet trees above barely moving in the night air. Behind you, the corridor, the garden, the canal, the narrow lantern streets of the sleeping town, all of it resting peacefully beneath the same dark sky. The lantern flickers slightly, not from wind, but from the quiet movement of its small flame within the glass, its glow softening, growing warmer as the night continues to settle deeper around the silent road. And for a while, you remain there beside the final lantern, watching its gentle light rest against the stone wall, until even that small glow begins to feel like part of the darkness itself, a final quiet warmth in a city that has fully surrendered to sleep.